Afghan man attacks 58-year-old German because, quote, she was working. On September 4th, a 29-year-old Afghan man approached a 58-year-old German woman who was doing some gardening work in a Berlin neighborhood. For reasons unknown, he engaged in a short conversation with the woman, then drew out a knife and began to stab the woman repeatedly in the neck. At this point, a 66-year-old bystander attempted to intervene to help, but this individual was also attacked. The assailant was arrested and charged with aggravated assault and attempted murder. The police initially suspected mental illness may be to blame, but are now considering Islamic extremist ideologies may have played a part in this heinous attack. But to be clear, there's no reports of that being confirmed at this point.
Is she what happened to her? Sorry.
Well, due to German privacy laws, the names of the victims have been withheld, but according to reports, both victims have survived the initial attack and are undergoing treatments for their injuries.
God damn. Wait, is that like, do we know that it doesn't make it any. Wait, is this person for working? How do we know it was for working? Like, do we?
This is just what I'm hearing from German media, including DW, which is very authoritative in my book.
All right, so this is the initial reports, guys. Like, we don't, nothing is certain. But that is wait, how could this person have been? How long has this person been there? Like, is this the first time he's witnessing a woman working in Germany? I don't understand.
It's vague at this point. There hasn't, especially in English, there hasn't been much clarifying news or updates.
Initial findings of the incident revealed that the assailant attacked the woman because she was working. Islamic ideology, especially Sharia law, does not allow women to work. Okay, let's be clear about that. Some, depending on it, depending on which Sharia you're referring to. Do you know what I mean? Like, not all. All Sharia law is bad. I'm not excusing Sharia law, okay? But I don't think this is as unanimous as women not being able to work is not as unanimous as some people within Islamic ideology. Is not as unanimous as some people make it seem to be, right?
Well, yeah, that's how our article continues. We continue by saying Islamic scholars claim that this is not true, and there are provisions where they are allowed to work. However, especially in Afghanistan under Taliban control, those provisions were never practiced in their entirety.
Look at this. Look at our writers being not biased and providing you the other side of it. We have great writers, guys. Look, check out the links in the description. We're not biased. We provide, we're not trying to give you be scared like Islam. I know like a lot of right-leaning websites might not give you the other side of this, right? But we do. Okay, we do. I do also think that it might be this. It is possible that if we wait more on this guy might have been not right in the head, because even many very, very conservative Muslims who think women should be not working, they don't go out and do stuff like this. Oh, and here's another thing. Let's be very clear. Even if the people who think, the Muslim conservatives who think that women shouldn't be working under Sharia, like that shouldn't be allowed, I don't think even they would be like, okay, this man did a good thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to be very fair here, okay? Mm-hmm. So the Islamic leaders who think that you shouldn't be working because Islam doesn't allow, women shouldn't be working, they don't think the punishment for a woman working under Islam, maybe they think the punishment for adultery for a woman in Islam should be death, but they don't think the punishment for working for a woman under Islam should be death. That is definitely not Sharia. By the way, guys, I'm not excusing Sharia, okay? The fact that Sharia teaches you that the punishment, the fact that the Sharia teaches you that the punishment for adultery should be death, for example, that means that this is horrible, okay? I'm not whitewashing it. I'm just giving you the facts. The facts is that, we are against Islam, but not everything that is sinful under Islam results in the death penalty. Okay, and even if it results in the death penalty, it's not just willy-nilly vigilante random Muslim in the streets doing something about it. Like, it's not even like that. It's more like we need a court, we need judges, we need witnesses and stuff like that. Again, I'm not saying that makes it okay. It's all very horrible, but let's not make it seem like this is Islamic. This is not Islamic. Okay, this is definitely not Islamic. Even if you accept the version of Sharia that women shouldn't be working under Islamic law, this is not what Islam prescribes as a solution. This guy probably had some issues. But yeah, go on. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
I have a question because this is something that I was thinking when we were reporting on this and that I wanted to have a conversation about. Is it bigoted to assume that Qassem's joke is, what if adultery is her job? I'm so mad. Okay. Is it bigoted to assume that this is because of Islam? Because the reports from Germany are just saying that authorities said the man attacked the woman allegedly because he didn't like that as a woman she was working. That's what authorities are saying at this point.
That's a very good question, okay, Susie, because these two statements are not a contradiction, okay? A lot of people think this is a very interesting, perfect question, okay? So I'm going to say two things, and I'm going to claim that this is not a contradiction, okay? I'm going to say, yes, Islam is to be blamed for this, okay? Statement A. Statement B, this is not Islamic.
Yeah, that's not a contradiction.
That's not a contradiction. Both of these statements are true. The actions that this man took, Islam doesn't promote this. His actions are not Islamic. Is Islam to be blamed for actions like this? Yes, partly so. That is not a contradiction. A lot of people think if you say one, you can't say the other, right? Islam is indirectly responsible for actions like this because it promotes a culture, it promotes certain values, it promotes an understanding, it puts men in certain positions that promotes ideas like this, it puts women in certain positions that promote certain acts like this. We have so many examples of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism to promote certain ideas, make certain acts more likely to happen in society, even if the scripture is not directly in promoting those actions, right? So yes, this is definitely not Islamic, but Islam is partly responsible for things like this happening. Are we saying that stuff like this wouldn't happen without religion? No, we're not saying that. We're just saying religion makes behavior like this more likely. Okay, so the third statement, so three statements. This is not Islamic. Islam is partly responsible for this. Actions like this would happen, but to a lesser extent without religion. None of this contradicts the other ones. But go on.
Why are you saying that Islam is partly responsible for this? What is the justification, sir?
Well, I mean, the same reason why we're saying Christianity, for example, is responsible for child abuse, even though there is no scripture within the Bible that promotes child abuse, right? In the way that happens, right? It promotes environments where it makes it more likely. It promotes values that makes it more likely, right? So, for example, the idea of women being in a position where men have, just the notion that you could physically punish women. That is something that is accepted in Islam. That's out there. Being in a position where men have authority over women. Being in a position to say women are below women. Women have to have certain roles that society has deemed for them as acceptable in society. Just these ideas being out there in the ether, right, promotes a certain culture and certain mindset and certain understanding of how the world is and should be, that makes these kind of actions more likely, even if it doesn't directly prescribe that this has a solution. Right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me preface this, and this is very important that you guys listen to this part before I continue the rest of my statement so people don't lose their minds, okay? Obviously, my first concern is with the victims, okay? Let me repeat that. My first concern is with the victims of this attack. But I also think about how this is going to promote anti-Afghan sentiment in Germany. and which is going to be a particular problem as we enter the resettlement process for tens of thousands of Afghans trying to leave Afghanistan around the world, many of whom will resettle in Germany. You know, there's already been problems with this because Germany lifted a ban on deporting Afghans who had received refugee status and to deport them back to Afghanistan. And then after the government fell, they put that back into place. So they're not deporting people, not deporting refugees or asylum seekers that committed crimes. And so I've, you know, it just really bothers me to think about how many good people are going to be trying to enter German society and live in safety and integrate into society, and then this is going to be held against them. Is that too bleeding heart liberal?
No, I think your concern is very valid because there's going to be a lot of Afghans that are very encouraged and very willing and very interested into go to, for example, to Germany and be a contributing part of the society, and not just take but also to give and accept, not only have already accepted these values in these countries as superior to the ones that they're leaving. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of them are going to feel like that effort is not being recognized by the people who reject them just because of their identity. You know what I mean? Their biological national identity. They're going to feel like not welcome. They're going to feel like not accepted, even though they wanted to be. And some of them might have even been not, a lot of them might not accept, for example, these values as superior, but might have become, after a while, would have been more willing to accept these values and be swayed in another way if they have been met with a welcoming population or group of people. If you use stories like this as a way to ostracize or demonize and segregate entire group of people, not only this is not a solution to seeing less of this happening, you might actually be encouraging it, right? Because if you see more Afghans coming to Germany, and then you have stories like this on your mind, and then you see these people as other or dangerous or demonize them, then you are making it less likely for them to feel welcome and try to be a willing participant in the rest of the society. And by segregating them and feeling them as less part of the society, you're creating bubbles where it encourages more people to become like this, right? Mm-hmm. So Susan, I would actually say that you kept on trying to preface by saying that your main concern is to the victims. I would say actually your concern that you have is also still about the victims. You know what I mean? Because it's not just about you worrying about the rights and the experience the Afghans will be facing in Germany, but what you are, if what you're concerned about, if that happens, will actually might even produce more victims, right? So you're going to see mm-hmm. more acts like this happening, right? So there's also that.
I don't know how to say this. Like, I am speculating that this is an issue that across the world we're going to have issues with. And this is based off of my understanding that in general, okay, so someone might say I'm making a generalization, but you are allowed to make a generalization when it's based off of statistics that show beliefs held by majorities, right? It's on average. Even Afghans who don't support the Taliban have extremely conservative views by my standards, right? And that's not just going to go away. And so I am anticipating that we might see a lot of contentions that arise from this conflict. of personally held belief or ideology in the environment that you live in, contradicting that, and so on. Of course, I would never say that this extends to all Afghans. We have members in Atheist Republic, in Afghanistan that I have contact with, and of course, they would give anything to be in the free world, right? So it's not all, but I just have a lot of care in my heart for the people who really do genuinely want to integrate well and serve the countries that they will resettle in, that will be discriminated against because of these cultural contentions. Zakuro is saying, how much more welcoming do you expect people to be? You don't see Indians, Chinese, Koreans, or Japanese creating even a fraction of the ruckus that these people do. These people.
I reject the use of the word "these people" because I think you're collectively holding an entire population responsible. I mean, if you look at the number of Afghans that are in Germany, and then compare, like when you're looking at stories like this, and then put that number next to the entire populations of Afghans in Germany, then the fraction that you're going to come out with is going to be as very, very small number. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, relatively to other populations, these you're going to get a higher number, obviously because of the values that you're dealing with. If you not because of obviously there's nothing intrinsic about Afghans that makes them like this, or obviously we're talking about value systems, but you can't just compare the per capita that of incidences like this to the other population. You also have to compare it to the Afghan population as a whole, and when you do compare it to the Afghan population as a whole, then that makes your use of the phrase these people very problematic, extremely problematic. You are collectively holding an entire group of people responsible for something that most of them are not responsible for and don't do. And that is, I don't think that is justified at all. Another thing that I have to address is that a lot of the these anecdotal events that happen are concerning, are tragic. Nobody should dismiss how tragic they are. Okay. I don't want to say but because it might seem like I'm dismissing how tragic these things are, but I mean I'm saying but. I'm going to say but you have to if you look at the larger picture, the whole Europe is going to be taken over by Sharia, the sky is falling, these are going, Germany and the UK and France are going to become failed state, kind of fear-mongering situation. Not only none of that happened, okay? By the way, like a lot of these stats of these crimes that people are that are looking at on a per capita basis, they're not comparing it to the already existing crimes that existed in Germany before, right? So, for example, you see a lot of left-leaning people and right-leaning people giving you stats that is not going to help us understand what's happening, right? So, for example, right-leaning people will give you all of these crimes that are happening from immigrants from the Middle East and North Africa, right? And just give you every story after another story, and when you put all these stories together, it looks very scary. Okay, left-leaning people come out and say, "Well, look, the total number of crimes happening by non-immigrants in these countries is actually more than immigrants, right?" And both of these and so therefore you shouldn't be concerned about this. Because look, non-immigrants are committing more crimes. Both of these numbers by right-leaning and left-leaning people is not helpful, okay? Because obviously non-immigrants are going to commit higher number of crimes because there's more of them. So left-leaning people are giving you a number that is not helpful. And right-leaning people are also just looking at the total number of crimes they're committing by immigrants, and that's not helpful either. If anybody was being honest with you, they would look at the per capita crimes by immigrants and compare it to per capita crimes by non-immigrants to have actually a fair comparison. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that data exists in Europe. That data exists in North America, and apparently immigrants actually commit less crimes per capita than non-immigrants, than native people, right? So yeah, at least in North America, non-immigrants are not a major source of crimes, okay? If you adjust it per capita, all right? So I don't know if this exists for Europe to adjust it per capita to see if this is actually a case or not. So if somebody knows, please let us know. But at the same time, another thing I want to address is that, you know, the whole sky is falling, fear-mongering never came to be. And if you actually look at the big picture, it seems like Germany is benefiting from all the immigrants that they're letting in economically. Not only they're benefiting, it seems like it kind of was a lifeline that they very much needed. Germany is suffering extremely from an aging population that is not being replaced by birth rates, and you know, the economic, you know, the cost to society when it comes to crimes like this hasn't been the significant as a lot of people anticipated. These are just anecdotal evidences, anecdotals that if you add them up might not be much compared to the other crimes that already exist in these countries, right? Again, I'm trying to not dismiss how tragic events like these are, right? But it seems like economists in Germany are claiming that not only the immigrant population that they let in is benefiting Germany, that they actually need a lot more of it. Okay, so you have to take all of that into account. Okay. Japan, take notes. Yes.
I was literally about to say, like, look at what being so like isolationist and xenophobic, like the policies of Japan have gotten them. Like,
right.
It's not good. Canada is looking to bring in a ton of immigrants because Canada is so underpopulated. There was another point I wanted to make, but I can't remember.
Well, while you think about it, can I say, like, actually Japan was one of right-leaning people's favorite example of look at Japan, look how awesome Japan is.
More racial.
Look at the and this is what a lot of right-leaning people they try to act like this is not a bad race,
particularly ethno-nationalists.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think a lot more right-leaning people are ethno-nationalists, and they, you know, only some of them are open about it. But because a lot of right-leaning people keep talking about Japan and what they love about it, but they kind of want to hint about what they love about it without saying it. They're like, look at how everybody looks alike in Japan. Like I'm not saying what I'm what? No, like there's something about them that is the same, right? So they kind of like, I think like a lot of more right-leaning people are ethno-nationalists than more people realize, right? But they keep wanting to associate Japan's progress and the fact that it's like economically and technologically ahead of most other countries in the world. They want to, you know, this is kind of correlation, is not causation. So you're like, look, this country that seems to be this good at this advanced, it's also an ethno state. So maybe anti-immigration. Look, Japan has very, very strict immigration policies, right? And they're like, look, maybe we should be taking notes of Japan. But Japan, they don't show how the evidence for Japan's progress being because of its strict immigration policy. In fact, Japan's official economists themselves are claiming that we would have done better if we didn't have such strict immigration policies. And they are constantly trying to advocate for loosening up their immigration policies. And they're like, we are struggling. Japan is struggling for not being able to let more people in. But go on.
One final point I want to make is a lot of people are bringing up that, okay, you know, like immigration is fine or whatever. We need to make sure that these people have our values to a certain extent, or bringing up the importance of integrating immigrants when they're trying to achieve citizenship or naturalization and imbuing liberal values in them. And Germany is actually one of the countries that is most notable for that. So several months ago, possibly last year. You guys can look up, we did a segment on Google, like German citizenship, shaking hands or something. There was a man from Jordan, I believe, who was applying for citizenship, and he went through the entire citizenship or naturalization process. And literally, like at the ceremony or something, to receive his citizenship, he refused to shake hands with a woman because it's against his Islamic religion. And because he refused to shake hands with a woman at the final process, like basically the ceremony of his citizenship, they revoked that right from him.
Good.
So that's how seriously, and there was a huge court battle that underwent it, and the judges defended it that gender parity is a part of the German Constitution and part of German culture. And so that's how seriously they take it.
Yeah.
And so look up that segment because I might have gotten the details a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic combination. Be more accepting of immigrants, but don't compromise on your values. You know, in some aspects go as strict as France when it comes to be like, I want these countries to be like, we will let you in, but this is how we do things. This is how we do things here. Like, we are not going to compromise. Like, I think that would be a perfect combination, right? Like, come up with a strict screening process, come up with a very strict adherence to values that make these countries better, but also have an open, like, given that these values are respected, leave an opening for people that are willing to accept it and come in. But yeah, I think that's a good compromise, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we covered a lot. Dang.
Yeah, we did. I think that was a good segment, actually. I'm
no kidding.
All right. Somebody told us to invite. Yuval was saying that we should invite Douglas Murray. Yeah, we should maybe consider that. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I talked to Douglas Murray a couple of times.
Only if we have Jimmy Bangash there, because he loves Douglas Murray.
No,
he got like a book or something signed by Douglas Murray and made a pass at him.
Wait, what is his book, The Death of Europe? Because that Douglas Murray's book, The Death of Europe, is not looking very. It looks like a false alarm right now. So we could address that if he comes, right? So like, it doesn't look like it went the way you thought it would. Anyways,
he's very handsome. But that's not for me. He's not for me.
He's not for you. It's very interesting because he's gay and he's against the Pride Parade, and I'm straight and I'm like in favor of Pride Parade, and I was arguing with him in favor of the Pride Parade, and he was arguing against the Pride Parade as a gay man, which was interesting.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.